And welcome to the Three Man Weave Best Bets show presented by Circa Sports. That's right, Circa Sports,
Yeah.
the best sports book in the United States of America. Hey, they just came to Illinois this year, guys. We live in Illinois. Go sign up for Circa Sports Books if you live in Illinois. Jim, other states include
Iowa,
Nevada,
Colorado, Nevada. Yeah, I
Kentucky.
was trying to pull up the official list, Kai. I know Kentucky is coming. That is part of the plan. And they are always trying to expand whenever possible. Yeah, it is those four: Nevada, Colorado, Illinois, Iowa.
Yes, best customer service out there. Great lines, best limits. I think you'll find among the books available in the United States. Also, big giveaway: the Three Man Weave X Circa Sports. Check out the link in our description page. Free to sign up. Giving away 3 free nights at Circa in Las Vegas over the Sweet 16/Elite 8 weekend. That is March 28th through March 31st. Again, 3 free nights, limo transfer from the airport, free Stadium Swim daybed. Stadium Swim is the ultimate place to watch a game and also get a tan. Jim, it's one of the coolest things ever.
It is a no minimum. So you
No
will
minimum.
have to spend money
Okay,
if you
fair.
want to, but you don't have to spend money. So I just
Fair.
want to make sure people go in with the proper expectations.
But
And then
spending money
two
is
drinks
highly
at
encouraged. Highly
of course,
encouraged to
of
spend
course.
money.
But and 2 drinks at Legacy Club, which has
Mm-hmm.
the best views of Vegas from downtown. Like great view of the strip. I love it. I've been up there and it's awesome. So get involved in that giveaway if you can.
We will also be there. That's right. We will be doing live shows from Circa that weekend, starting Thursday, Friday. I believe we'll do Saturday and Sunday shows as well, live from their cabana, one of their cabanas in Stadium Swim. We're very excited about that. So, yeah, if you win the contest, let's hang out with the Weave, watch some basketball. Could be fun. Bring some friends. I don't know. Bring your mom. Whatever you want to do. Guys, takeaways from, I guess, yesterday or the weekend. This is our first weekday show of the year. Surprisingly, it's almost March. Matthew, go to you first.
Jerome Tang, it
Yes.
cannot lose in overtime. It
Can't be
is
done.
literally invincible, immune to losing in the bonus period. It's like a joke at this point. It's like surpassed the Providence luck narrative of last year. So props to the Purple Kittens tournament prognosis. I mean, just
Not
imagine
good.
they'd
Not
lost
awesome.
half those
Not
overtime
good.
thread. Probably not good. I mean, if they'd lost half those OT games, they'd be almost irrelevant to a point. But well done, Jerome. Tyler Perry, House of Rain, continue doing what you do. Just a really incredible run. Lucky or not.
Yeah. I think it's all-time record for most wins in overtime in a single season. They're up to 7 this year. Of course, they had 5 last year. It's outrageous. I believe I forget who did it. I'm sorry, but they calced based on pre-OT win probability, the chances of going 12-0 in the games they've had, and it's like 1 in 1,600 or something like that. It's
Yeah.
absolutely outrageous that they have just managed to do it every single time. My hat tip is to the Delta Devils. Kai, they're on the
Yeah.
board, 1 in
Yeah.
27. They were actually a standalone game for about 2 minutes last night once the Baylor TCU game wrapped up. All eyes were on Itabena that were able to, considering it's behind a paywall, but we're happy that Mississippi Valley State, excuse me, got a win.
Indeed, indeed. My takeaway is just a disclaimer. Tail best bets at your own risk, guys. We had a couple comments from last show. One guy said he lost $1,000 on Weber. It's your choice. It's your responsibility. If you feel we don't make a compelling argument for a bet, please don't make it. This show's more about
My bets have stunk.
Okay.
I'll say it right now. My bets have
Okay.
stunk.
Fair
I'm
enough.
sorry. I'll get better.
But this show's
I'll get
not
better.
a giving out picks show. That's not the main goal of it. It's more about discussion, information, and analysis. And I think we give that out better than most shows out there, any shows out there. The straight up, if you want straight up picks, go on Twitter and search for picks. I don't know. We'll give them out, of course, every show. Hopefully, listen to the entire arguments and make your own decisions from there. But don't post in the video that you took a bet and lost. Come on, man. Okay. That's my 2 cents. I like to get on a soapbox about that sort of thing. Let's get in with the actual show. Let's start talking about actual basketball. And let's start with Kentucky at Mississippi State as I change our lovely rundown on the left-hand side. Circa's got this one 3.5, guys. I do see 4 out there. And my first initial reaction to 4, Jim, was, what is this line? Is this some dumb rank versus non-rank thing? Is this let down Kentucky after Alabama? I think it's too high, even with Trey Mitchell still out of the lineup.
I don't know, man. Ken Palm's got it too. I actually don't hate this line. I do not like Kentucky off of big performances having to go on the road midweek. It's just a young team. Look what happened at LSU. Built a big lead after winning at Auburn and then just kind of couldn't finish. Matt, now they're playing an extremely well coached physical defensive team that is not going to give them the same amount of easy looks as that Alabama Civ did. I actually kind of like Mississippi State here. My one hesitance would probably be the number, Kai. I wish it was three. Just have it be one possession. But I think Mississippi State wins here. So if you want to throw them in moneyline parlay or something, I lean Bulldogs. I think the athleticism and physicality is just going to be a little too much. And the tempo battle, I think they forced Kentucky to play in the half court, unlike Alabama, just letting them go to 80 possessions. Yeah, man, this one's the Bulldogs for me. I'm riding with the home team.
Yeah, I agree. I think you're paying a premium, but it's not a big premium. I think it's only like a point, maybe a point and a half. Circa's got a 3.5. Jim, you mentioned KenPom too. And just based on the volatile seesawing of Kentucky's year, we've seen with big spots to not, or just not as hype spots, so to speak. And are the Bulldogs trending back up? Question mark. I know they've played like the easiest part of an SEC schedule you could possibly play, right?
Well,
Georgia, Missouri,
the start of their
Arkansas.
They needed it. They deserved
yeah,
the
they
respite.
You've been going 3-6 with your first 9 games. I think 8 of those 9 were quad 1 games. Pretty wild. But I think it actually allowed them to get healthier. I know Jans was managing like some interchangeable rotation stuff with Jimmy Bell and Tolu Smith, who finally kind of broke out of his shell. Or getting it. I think your boy Jim Ford is back and starting to maybe make an impact. So I think it's just a great time to get Mississippi. This is one of those spots where I think if they'd bet it up to 6, I'd be like, okay, I buy that. And so now I think you get an opportunity to hop in one of those obvious home spots that you may have missed the price on because the market jumped so eagerly there. So I think this is like an obvious one, but a good one.
I'm going to respectfully disagree. I think it's too high. Kentucky has another gear offensively, high octane. Mississippi State does not have that gear. It's relying on physicality. They do have a few talented guards we've seen this year, but they do not have that extra gear, and we know Kentucky does. And Mississippi State's transition defense, while good, it's not great. And the way they crash the boards, I think they're pretty susceptible to runouts against Kentucky. I like Kentucky +4 quite a bit. So I'm opposite you guys. Doesn't happen often, but I lean towards the Cats here.
Kai loves Kentucky, KY. We know.
KY.
We get it, Kai. Biased. Yep.
I am biased indeed. Okay, we're going to BYU, Kansas next. A great one in the Big 12. Kansas didn't have Kevin McCullough last game against Texas Tech, and it didn't really matter. Texas.
Yeah.
Absolutely pounded the Longhorns. Circa has this one 6.5. That is mostly what you'll see in the market. I think I saw a 7 hovering out there pre-show. McCullough, according to Bill Self, Matt, McCullough's probably out for a bit here. What do you think of Kansas's
They don't need him.
second game without McCullough? You think they don't need him? Okay, all right.
Now they get Nick the Quick Timberlake. He's 13 big ones
Yeah, he had a good
against Texas last game. I got to think at home you're going to get good Timberlake games go down the stretch. Just seems like the friendly confines of fog. On the road, you might see some of those "What the heck are you doing?" games from Timby, but they kind of need Mr. Timberfake as he was so not so lovingly called early in the season because the depth is really going to dwindle. Yeah, we'll see what they do with McCullough. I do actually think this maybe has a buy low Kansas opportunity because again, I mean Johnny Furphy's been playing much better as well, and they're still very underrated. I think partially underrated. I'll say, Jim, by the metrics in Kansas. I mean, hovering right close to 20-ish.
15 now after that win.
15 after that huge win. Yeah, actually the low one kind of debunks that narrative. But I mean, BYU I think is very much course corrected in their price, right? Like after their top 5 KenPom rank, they've come back down to earth, clearly away from the Marriott Center. They've been more vulnerable, and I think that's a pretty good spot here for KU to lay the smackdown. I just don't like laying large number with Kansas. I've said it all year. I'm sticking to that principle. I passed.
I don't know if this is a large number, 6.5, Matt. I think this is coverable for him. Like you said, Furphy, Timberlake, those are the 2 names I highlighted looking at this, just how well they've been playing. That matters quite a bit, especially I'm anticipating no McCullough. You mentioned BYU's road struggles. They're one of the worst ATS teams in the country on the road, 1-7 against the spread, not covering by 6 per game. Really hard to trust them. Matchup-wise, I like Khalifa being able to pull Dickinson away from the hoop. The 5 out, he can pass from there. He can shoot a little bit. He's been a little hotter this year than I think he is, actually as a shooting, his own shooting ability. But, maybe they'll rotate Traore in for some physicality, give Dickinson different looks. I just don't fully trust BYU here. I kind of wanted to back them, but especially with no McCullough. But at home, the way the role players are playing, Kai, I'm sitting this one out. I don't think they can guard KU's ball movement. I mean, the Harris plus Adams, like those guys just make the right pass every time.
I'm actually a little surprised to see it go up as much as it did. But like the other game we just talked about, Kempom's got this 5 and McCullough's probably out, and yet you see 7 out there. I think the Texas game was a bit of a mirage. I mean, I don't think Kansas is better without McCullough at all. I don't think Timberlake is consistently going to play that well. I think there's value on BYU. They have a 3-man front court rotation with Trior, with Waterman, Khalifa to try on Dickinson. It's not going to be perfect, but at least you have a rotation there. And I agree with Khalifa being able to maybe get Dickinson in space. Shooting for BYU has been an unexpected issue in Big 12 play. 35% on the season from 3, but just 32% in league play. And they shoot the highest rate of threes in the Big 12. Now, is that lack of athleticism, quickness, ability to get open looks against top-notch competition? Perhaps. Their schedule obviously is much tougher in Big 12 than the non-con. But I still think that is due for somewhat of a correction, even though we are getting pretty late in the season. I think it's a bit high. I think KU wins this game. It's the fog, of course. But remember, KU just 7-6-1 against the spread at home. They're not invincible against the number here. 7's a bit high, especially after that big win against Texas. I lean towards BYU. As Jim said, they are horrible against the road, against the spread. So proceed with caution if you do want the Cougars in this game.
Do we like the total at all in this? Got bet up 2 points to 154.5.
I took the
Circa.
over, Matthew. Took the over.
Okay.
Yeah,
It does. Yeah. I kind of like the under. I don't know why. Just a stupid gut take that Bill Self's like, we cannot let up transition under any circumstance. If BYU still runs whether you want to take it away or not. So
Well, exactly. I think KU will go transition. I think McCullough, I don't see the numbers, but I think he's more important for the defensive end.
I kind of agree with that.
If I had to peg one or the other there.
Relative to Nick Timberlake, obviously, who has no idea what a ball screen switch involves, basically.
Yes. Okay. Big 12 action. We continue. Texas at Texas Tech. Hey, Texas is the team just got the doors blown off them against that Kansas team at the Fog, and they're now going to Texas Tech. That's a brutal road stretch there. Yikes. At Kansas, at Texas Tech, arguably the 2 best home courts in the Big 12. Matt says maybe the country. Kempom actually says maybe the country. Matthew, KU shot 67% inside the arc against Texas. Wow. I know Texas Tech is off that loss against UCF, but can they do the same against the Longhorns?
Gut screams Texas Tech here. I'm not sure why I haven't bet this, to be honest. Market seems to disagree. I thought there'd be a little bit of love for the Raider Raiders, especially at home, but I think the injury concerns, some of the depth concerns for the Raiders have kind of cooled both my enthusiasm and the markets at large. I mean, Warren Washington, we called this offseason like maybe the best underrated pickup of the offseason. Now, he played last game, but was like not himself. 13 minutes, 3 turnovers, didn't score. So you can't really pencil him for 100%, in my opinion. And you're also down Chance McMillan. It's just not a really deep team. And it's a Grant McCaslin team that I think that's a little too reliant on shot making. So it's not what I trust, even at home, Jim, in a short spread situation. And you could argue Texas in a good spot coming off that KU loss too.
Yeah, it's about the injuries here. And I wrote this up for Action Network and just had a really hard time. Like Washington, major under player if he's out there, but McCaslin was really non-committal about them yesterday. Him and McMillan. He's like, we don't know. We're going to find out tomorrow, hopefully before the game. And McMillan's a big time over player, like sniper, not as good of a defender. So like if Washington plays and McMillan doesn't, maybe I like the under. If Washington does not and McMillan does, maybe I like the over. It's probably going to come down to game time there. Spot still screams Texas Tech for me. Coming back home off a really poor performance at UCF. And Texas is they're not circling the drain, but they're really struggling. A. Smith hasn't scored double digits in 3 games. He's shooting 20% from the field over that stretch. I don't know if he's hit a wall against this level of athleticism or what, but going to semi-altitude in Lubbock, yes, that's right. It's like 1,800 feet above sea level. And a quickish turnaround is, again, at a great home court, isn't really an appealing place for me to back Texas. So I still lean Texas Tech despite the injuries. But I want to see what happens with those guys before game time before I commit to it.
Yeah, worth noting game 1, Texas Tech won at Texas, and they controlled the game. Favorable shooting splits for sure, but they forced 14 turnovers. Weirdly, Texas Tech. We mentioned the KU ATS numbers at home. Texas Tech's just 7-8 against the number at home this year. Now they're 14-1 straight up. They're hard to beat outright at home, and this is a pretty short spread. My main factor here is coaching mismatch. Rodney Terry versus Grant McCaslin. It's not close. It advantaged Texas Tech, and maybe that should have been the handicap against Kansas earlier. I do lean Tech here. Pop Isaacs, first game, 21 points. He's going to have a field day with whoever guards him. With all due respect to Asmus, not a good defender at this level, in my opinion. So I lean towards Texas Tech as well in this game, guys. All right, moving on. Colorado State and Nevada. The Rammies, Matthew, -7.5. Like every single game in the Mountain West, another premium here.
Right.
Kim Pom makes it 5. Market 7.5. Huge one, of course, for standings and the NCAA tournament picture. Your thoughts?
Yeah, this is just the hard stay away, right? I think at this point you have the excessive tax that you're paying to back the Rams, but man, I mean, don't go the other way though. I think if you were early to see the New Mexico wart starting to emerge and you faded them at home with some really inflated prices, good for you. I tip my cap to you. You're a braver man than I don't think Colorado State falls in that bucket right now. Just given how well they played at home, and they've been really bad on the road. So that relative split very much exists in this case. 7 does feel very high. I will say that, but again, good luck to you if you want to take a road team against a hype home spot in the Mountain West. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, I mean, I fell for the trap taking Utah State at what I thought was an inflated price at Moby here at Colorado State and got smoked. Now Colorado State's lost 2 in a row back home. Nevada's won 3 in a row going on the road. It's just all these Mountain West spots where the home team is set up to play better, kind of buy low, and the road team is so high. It feels like they've all been hitting. So I would not have any enthusiasm for taking Nevada. If you have the stomach for the price and want to get in on Colorado State, I don't actually hate that. First meeting, the size kind of overwhelmed Colorado State inside. It's kind of a size for speed matchup here. Colorado State didn't hit shots, 26% from deep. Whereas Nevada shot 57% inside the arc on 44 attempts. Like they just kind of pounded Colorado State inside. Susceptible to doing the same, but a shooting team, Kai, I do like them a little more at home. I guess that's relevant to Texas Tech too in the previous game. So I lean Colorado State just because of how good these Mountain West home spots have been.
Yeah, well,
I do think real quick that some of the steam here is Keenan Blackshear related. He got injured last game. Okay, yeah. So
I mean, if he's out, I'd be okay with 7.
Yeah, it's a great point in the chat. Blackshear apparently in a boot. I mean, yeah, that was my main reason for actually liking Nevada at this price, because Jim said it, the perimeter size really bothered Colorado State, and why wouldn't it? Colorado State not the biggest team in the perimeter. Isaiah Stevens, for how good he is, I think he had issues in game 1 with Nevada's size, and they start freaking 6'6" and up. It's a really big team on the perimeter. Another weird factor about this game, think back to the first matchup here. Nevada was -4.5 in the first meeting. It's a 12-point gap between the first spread and the second spread. That's huge, ridiculous, not really normal unless both teams have gone in opposite directions. I really don't think that's the case. I'm not sure either one has really gotten away from the other.
They've gone the other way.
Gotten
like
closer,
Nevada's gotten a
in
little
fact.
better, and Colorado State's maybe gotten a little worse. Yeah, that's a great point.
So I'd agree. I wouldn't really fade Colorado State here, but I think the spread is really high. No Blackshear means no bet. If he's in, I would think about Nevada at 7.5, even 7. All right, Chat Mob Part 1. Jim's been rounding them up. What do you got for us?
I sure have. Folks, hit the like button if you're hanging out in there. Why not?
Let's...
Hit that quick thumbs up. It's easy enough here on a fine Tuesday morning. We got first couple questions in the A10. Matt, I'll go to you first. Dayton is back home, laying 10 against Davidson. Flyers are kind of tripping up a little bit towards the end of the year here. They played a tough A10 schedule. Do they smash? This was Pat's best bet, backing the Flyers. What do you think?
Yeah, gut agrees with Mr. Patrick. I think he's got the winner here. Anecdotally laying points with Dayton just doesn't always seem to go well with me. But I think we've heard Anthony Grant say outright, like they are trying to, inflate some of their metrics or trying to run up the score. I know a lot of coaches do that and just don't say it, but Grant's been pretty vocal about that. Davidson's hard to do that against, man. They're definitely like a root canal trip to the dentist with all their cutting and their just general pace. But I just think this is a men versus the boys game. It feels like a Virginia crock-pot type cover, right? Like Dayton 70, Davidson 20 type outcome.
Yeah, they actually Davidson defends this year. It's like by far their best defense in a long time. Kai, to you for Loyola Chicago, the Ramblers, after a big win over the weekend. Now they head on the road to St. Bonaventure, 3-point underdogs per Circa. Loyola's right in the mix for that A10 title. They need this
Yeah.
one, though. Do you think they get it?
Man, I don't think they went out right. I think the Bonnies are still a tough place to play against or play at. But man, Loyola's kind of been proving me wrong every single game. I thought this team would fall down eventually, and they just haven't. So I'm a little bit scared of this game. I lean towards the Bonnies, of course, on the number. I always do, it seems, in the A10, but I'm not going to fade Loyola today.
I like the under.
Fair enough.
That's all I have. No analysis needed, just under.
All right, Matt, you are Matty Mac. You wrote it up for the Almanac. Sean Dusick's asking about Akron at Ohio. This line is now a pick'em at Circa. I need my Zips to win for conference futures here. Do they get it done? You don't think so?
No, I'm an Ohio guy. I've been backing Ohio way too much this year. They have covered a lot of nonsense backdoor games. So I had the horseshoe right up my rear, and so does the Bobcats. I think at home, though, they've been against some really good home crowds. This is a hype home spot. I like their guards way more than Akron's home guards. I know Akron can eat inside as they did against Toledo. They have kind of that inside matchup advantage against most of these MAC teams that are all guard oriented, but I think Ohio makes enough shots, protects the rock at their home gym. I think this win. So yeah, I took the Bobcats. Sorry, Jimbo.
If Akron wins this league outright, I'm making you write an apology letter to Greg Tribble because you have slandered the hell out of Akron's guards all year, and he's been rock solid. So.
He's been solid. He has. Their other guys have actually been pretty good too. I have an annual tradition of not believing in Akron's guards ever since they lost to LCJ, so I probably should revisit that.
Yeah, it turns out Ali, decent player too. Who'd have known he could be good in the MAC? All right, Kai, to you 4-1 in the ACC. Scott H. very curious about NC State at Florida State. The Noles 2.5-point favorites at home.
The over was one of my better bets today. It is kind of getting up there now. I think there's some 150.5 still out there, maybe 151.5. Circa's got it 152. So if you get less than 152, I think it's a pretty good bet on the over there. Both teams last game, I believe, their games went over. Expect some transition in this game. As far as the spread goes, I kind of leaned towards NC State initially, but I have nothing strong in that game.
Fair enough. Yeah, Florida State. I don't know if they've like kind of been we're not going to make the postseason. There was all that NIL controversy stuff off the court. Not a team I'm really in a rush to back.
There's no ACC team I trust. I had this epiphany last night. I don't trust any of those teams, so I'm just like kind of tired of betting that conference.
Oh wow, says the Duke fan. Oh wow,
I don't trust Duke either. I don't trust Duke.
All right, Matt. A couple people, Wonka Dog, Joe Gunderson, asking about Penn State and Iowa total. Very far below Ken Pom and Bart Torvik. Wonka Dog specifically asking about Penn State's team total, 76.5 against Fran McCaffrey's defense. I don't mind the over here. Both these teams are still not defending at all, and Iowa's been able to get teams into track meets. I know Penn State's maybe played a little slower without Clary, but I'm kind of on board.
Yeah, this is a good lesson we learned last year, Jim. We saw the modelers, I'm assuming, bet the under with Iowa, Illinois this past weekend. That didn't go very well for you. Like, I don't care if you're playing a little bit slower. It's still Iowa and it's still Penn State, two teams with porous defenses. And I know there's that Big Ten feel to it, but I like the over here too. I would counterpunch. I also did lay it with Iowa. I think I got 8.5 though. Circa at 9. I don't know. It feels a little too high for a Big Ten game, but I just don't trust Penn State's defense at all.
What's the Iowa under angle?
They've been playing slower, I think, a little bit slower. They're not as deep as they thought, but I mean, again, when you can't guard anybody, yeah, they have.
Yeah, still number one by far in the Big Ten pace.
Yeah, but just recent, I think the inflection change is that's. I'm trying to extrapolate what the
I'm not even seeing
three straight games they've bet.
Three straight games are playing slow teams: Maryland, Wisconsin, and Michigan State. I mean, I don't think that's Iowa.
Yeah, right. Could be exactly. It could be completely opponent driven and bogus. So I don't know. Good luck to you under backers, but I will not be joining you.
All right, let's get two more. We'll save the rest for the second chat mob section. Kai from Matt Akers, UNLV -5.5 at Wyoming. Rebels coming off that big performance, knocking off Colorado State. They seem to own Colorado State. I don't love them going now on the road to high altitude in a game they probably care a lot less about.
I like Wyoming, but I like Wyoming a lot this year, and it hasn't worked out. 5.5. I think it's too high. UNLV, obviously the better team. Clearly, they're favored by 5.5, but I think Wyoming's a tough place to play regardless. Again, Jim mentioned off that last game. I lean towards the Pokes here.
Yep, same. And then Matthew, George Mason, they're now -2 per Circa at Fordham. A couple questions about this. Patriots did not take out Loyola over the weekend, but can they get it done in the Rose Thrill Gymnasium?
Yeah, George or Forbes, one of those weird teams with almost inverted home road splits this year. I kind of like George Mason here. I really do. They got Maddox back, and Fordham I thought I liked. Turns out they're just kind of Fordham-ish again this season. So not anything super confident here. I think Fordham's still competitive. They're not going to roll over, but I just don't think they're that good.
Cool. All right. Well, Kai, back to the outline. Got a lot of questions in the MAC, a couple others, Valpo and Utah State. We'll get to those in the second chat mob section, so stick around.
Yes, and a reminder, again, thanks to Circa Sports for the sponsorship, making the daily show possible. Again, check out the link in the description to enter the free giveaway, 3 free nights at Circa. Hang out with us. It's going to be awesome. Stadium swim, all that jazz. Check out the link in the description. We move
Planning
on.
to give it out. I think you said earlier, Kai, in the chat, planning to give it away on March 9th,
Yes.
Saturday show. We will announce it with a cool little, we'll do a wheel or something to get all the potential winners on there. And that should give people plenty of time, almost 3 weeks to book flights and everything. So March 9th is the announcement.
That is the goal. Yeah. So we have about a week and a half here to get your name in the entry. Hey, make up email addresses. No, I'm just
Tell your friends.
I don't know if
Tell
that
your
works.
friends.
Tell your friends. Tell your wives' friends. Tell your mom's friends. Okay. Wisconsin at Indiana. Circa's got this one. Wisconsin -4.5. That's generally what you're going to see out in the market right now. I think there's some 4 out there. Indiana. Matt, have your Hoosiers given up? They've lost and haven't covered 4 in a row. They're flirting with the bottom 3 in the Big Ten. And they're also outside the top 100 in KenPom for the first time since you were in school in 2010.
Great time. Glorious area. I sort of was wanting to trust my instincts here, and just like every Big Ten team at home that feels like their back's against the wall, I want to back them. But I don't know. Indiana's so far removed from that level of confidence for me that I didn't touch it. I'll go to Jim here as resident Buzzcut Badger expert here. Not that they're playing super well either. So maybe in a more favorable matchup against the Hoosiers, we can kind of, go strength for strength with the front lines here. But I'm not touching Indiana with a 10-foot pole the rest of the season, Jim. I just can't, even though I do feel like this is probably a pretty good spot as a home doggy to the waffling Badgers. Can we say they're waffling? Wavering?
Yeah. Haven't been awesome, but Matt, I know that as a Wisconsin fan, I do not fear Assembly Hall. They did lose last year because TJD was a super nuclear monster in the paint, and they do have some good paint threats this year, but Wisconsin put up 91 on them at the Kohl Center. I know Khalil Ware didn't play. That matters for sure. But Wisconsin 7-3 against the spread the last 10 at Assembly Hall. That goes back to Bo Ryan and through multiple other coaches on the Indiana side, of course. But I just don't think Wisconsin has the intimidation factor in that venue. They're better. They have a lot more to play for right now. Kai, I don't know if they've quit Indiana per se, but they're circling the drain a little bit. There's, I would guess, some chemistry issues. Avery Johnson, just again, not the best leader on that team, and they help off of shooters a lot. Yeah. And though Wisconsin hasn't been as hot from the outside, I think they will get open jumpers. It's a pretty good shooting background there in Assembly Hall. I'm leaning Wisconsin here, Kai. 4.5, laying that on the road.
Yeah, I mean, to Matt's point, Wisconsin has not covered 7 straight games, and they've been brutal on the road. 2-8 against the spread on the road. That's not great stats there. However, first game, both teams scored actually pretty easily. It was a weird efficiency bonanza. Wisconsin, though, 1.4 points per possession. Both teams play through the post and are among the best post offenses in the country from a frequency and an efficiency standpoint. However, the Badgers' post action, a lot tougher to defend. It's not just straight up throw it in. It's screened. It's cutting through their motion offense. And IU, they lack awareness on defense. They have all season. It's not getting better. They get lost on screens. Jim said they leave open shooters. I just don't see them being able to defend Wisconsin at all. And also, Indiana does not have any backcourt dynamism. And that's really what Wisconsin struggles guarding. They struggle against athletic, quick guards who can create, get to the paint. Indiana doesn't have that. With all due respect to Trey Galloway, who's trying, they just don't have that, especially with Xavier Johnson on the pine. So I lean towards the Badgers as well here. I think the Indiana's dead, Matthew. I'm sorry. Maybe next year.
No, they're dead.
Get Dusty May in there.
I feel like we kind of talked into the over too. I
Over.
just going through that discussion, the
Yeah,
efficiency both teams can score in this one.
into that as well.
All right, moving on to the ACC. Yes, the ACC country is where we are heading. Pitt at Clemson. Kind of a big game actually for tournament resumes. Pitt somehow is in the discussion, or at least trying to get there. 8-2 straight up their last 10 games. Clemson finally back in the driver's seat after they looked a bit shaky. They're 5-1 their last 6 ACC games. Look to be pretty safe now in the dance. Jim, Clemson's laying 7.5. Game 1 was back on December 3rd. Both teams probably have evolved a bit since then, but what do you think in this game?
I'm close to making Clemson the best bet. They have been terrific against Pitt. Brad Brownell has won and covered 11 straight against Pitt. Won and covered 11 straight. 7-0 against the spread against Jeff Capel. He's just completely owned him. I think Capel has a hard time dealing with the way that offense can match Pitt's versatility. That's like a big weapon is, Blake Hinson can play inside and out. And I think they've got matchups. Jack Clark, Ian Shefflin to throw at him. PJ Hall is more physical than the thinner Pitt bigs, and Clemson's guards are just better. 7, maybe not like a super appetizing number. Matt, I know Pitt's been really good on the road the last 2 years, 6-2-1 against the spread this year. But man, that Brownell dominance over Capel really opened my eyes, and they haven't beat him in like 9 years. I still lean Clemson at Little John there quite strongly.
I took Pitt here. You're right about the dominance, and I'm certainly the coaching mismatch bothers me. And every time I bet on Pitt and lose, I pitch myself. But I am trusting what I'm seeing lately with this team, just the way they play and the size they have up front to combat PJ Hall and the boys. Also, don't like hearing quotes about PJ Hall and Shefflin being not 100%, and they basically aren't practicing all the rest of the year. Like Brownell's like, we have to not practice those guys to make sure they're healthy. So kind of, I worry there's a little bit of brittleness that's lurking beneath the scenes in that Clemson stock price, if you will. So I like Pitt here. Going to trust the home road splits. I mean, the only thing they've done wrong in the last 3 weeks is get blown out by Wake Forest in a tough spot. So I don't know. We'll see. Probably a loser for me, but I did trust my number on that one.
Some edges, I think, both ways in terms of personnel. I don't think Blake Hinson has any answer on Clemson. He scored whenever he wanted to in game 1, and there's just nobody that can defend him. His combo of size, skill, foot speed, Shefflin's too slow. Hall can't defend him. The wings and guards are too little. So I really think he has a big advantage. However, I don't think Pitt can defend Clemson inside. No one defends PJ Hall. Shefflin had 17 rebounds in game 1. Pitt's interior fortitude is just not good. It's very skinny. They're 13th in the ACC in 2-point field goal percentage allowed. I do agree with Matt, though. The spread feels a bit high, especially for how Pitt can scrap. We've always kind of leaned towards them as a dog or being a better dog than a favorite. This year, I think they're only about 3-5 against the spread as an underdog, so not quite living up to that. However, 7.5, pretty big for how well I think Hinson can find success offensively in this game. So I do lean ever so slightly to Pitt in this one.
I submit to you Jack Clark, a mobile 6'10" guy who did not play in the
did
first
not play
meeting.
first game. Correct.
That might, that's my answer, my hopeful answer on as a Clemson backer.
It's a very good counter, Jim. Very good counter. Okay, we go to another ACC game with tournament implications. Virginia Tech and Syracuse. Let's see. Syracuse, about a -1, -1.5 point favorite. Both teams about as bubbly as you can be. I would say it's hard to say who's safer for the tournament, Jim. Virginia Tech's record, not pretty right now. Syracuse doesn't have great wins. But one thing I'll say about Virginia Tech, the dismantling of Virginia, it bumped them 14 spots in KenPom initially before they lost to Pitt. Not sure that was truly indicative of their true ability. But what do you think about this game?
If I'm backing Syracuse, it's usually big home spots, younger team that can kind of be a little bit erratic. And I don't want to go against like a massive crusher in the paint. And this one's kind of split on that. This is a big home spot, important game for them. They've beaten Carolina at the Carrier Dome. We'll not call it the JMA Wireless or whatever. But Lynn Kidd has actually been kind of a fantastic beast in the paint this year, Kai. Little Harry Potter reference there. And I think he can go I know Malik Brown has been terrific with his versatility, but he's not the same size. And I think Kidd could actually have his way a little bit inside. And Matt, I think this is just a gigantic coaching edge. Mike Young running really good stuff against a team that just hasn't fully figured out man-to-man and can kind of waffle back and forth between good defense, bad defense, even from half to half. So this one leans Virginia Tech to me. Syracuse's resume metrics, Kai, like you said, have them in the bubble conversation, but the predictive stuff is all way
Yeah.
outside. So I'm gonna lean Hokies here, Matthias, despite being on the road in a big, kind of tougher shooting venue.
I agree. I'm gonna take it as the best bet. Just I feel like when I just see it and it just hits me in the face, that's a good bet for me. Um, yeah, Red Autry talked about how bad their defense was. They played some zone to combat the lack of depth they have, and they gave up 80 plus to Notre Dame. Like Syracuse can't guard anything right now. Like good luck guarding Virginia Tech, whether it's zone or man. Like I'm just gonna trust. I'm gonna trust that Mike Young can find a way to outcoach Red Autry, a Red Autry team that's reeling, that he's having to defend to the press, that they're still committed and still engaged. So yeah, just got screened for Virginia Tech here. This is a keep it simple handicap for me.
Yeah, for how guard-oriented Virginia Tech is this season, they've really struggled with turnovers and pressure. If Syracuse can force that number 2 turnover rate in the ACC, I think they have success and maybe win this game. They have a ton of quickness, athleticism on the perimeter. However, if Tech breaks that initial shell, Syracuse's defense, like you guys mentioned, is a sieve.
You're getting some chatter about your mic in the chat right now.
Okay.
Oh, it's gone. It's gone. Now they say it's gone. You're good.
Yep. I don't know what that was. Sorry, guys. Yeah, dead last in 2-point percentage defense and 3-point percentage defense. Syracuse is in the ACC. That's a problem. I do think Tech kind of runs circles around them. However, it's not like Virginia Tech can guard. And I think they really struggle with really athletic guards like Judah Mensch, for instance, for Syracuse. I think this game's coin flippy. I think it's why the spread is -1, -1.5. Makes total sense to me. Complete stay away from me. I respect Matt's opinion, though, if he wants the best bet for
efficiency over, maybe?
Yes, Jim.
Yeah, maybe.
Took the words out of my mouth, you little rascal. Yes. Boom.
Yeah,
Agreed.
just Kai kind of crystallized that they're talking about the athletic guards. I'm like, yeah, Virginia Tech's not keeping them in front. That's a good point.
Thanks, guys. Wow, teamwork. The weave.
Yeah.
Okay, last game before we get to our last chat mob section and then best bets. It is Cincinnati at Houston. Houston -13.5 at Circa, as well as pretty much everywhere else in the market. Hey, Matt, I saw on After Dark that Rob Doster finally decided that Houston was on par with Purdue and UConn. Hey, what took you so long, Rob? Houston's only been number 1 in KenPom since Thanksgiving. This team's elite. 24-3, 11-3 in the Big 12. It baffles me that anybody has ever said they're overrated. Go watch their games. Anyways, I digress. Matthew, what do you like in this game?
I like Houston. I mean, the only concern here is that Cincinnati has a little bit of familiarity and it somewhat matches up well with Houston. They do have size up front, right? They're not going to be completely bludgeoned at the rim. They played them close at home, but I mean, Houston is at home. That's the difference in this handicap. I mean, look at their home results, basically. It's just been night and day better. And Cincy coming off 2 losses, should have probably lost to Oklahoma, or should have probably beat Oklahoma State. I think that loss was like a spiritual death for this team, Jim. Followed it up with a stinker at TCU on Wednesday and then Saturday over the weekend, a stinker. So yeah, they might be a circling the drain type Big 12 team. And the Big 12 gives you no favors of bounce back spots. So I fear for some Wes Miller's last 3 weeks here.
Yeah, like maybe this is all right. Last stand, like an at Houston win, completely defibrillates, revitalizes our at-large chances. But I mean, Kelvin Sampson's 12-3 against the spread, last 15 against Cincinnati, and that includes a half-point loss last game where I think it opened 4.5 and got bet up to 5.5, and Cincinnati lost by 5, so they get the narrow cover there. Houston also 9-4-2 against the spread at home. It's just, man, it's not a team you want to go into if you're feeling at all a lack of cohesion, because the physicality is going to beat you to a pulp, and the pressure on the perimeter, the trapping out of ball screens. You've got to be able to pass out of that. I don't like Cincinnati's bigs in the short roll, Matt. I don't trust them in like kind of making the right read out of that, out of traps. So I'm leaning Houston, despite the number just kind of like on its surface felt a little high to me. I mean, eight points higher than the road one, which I guess makes sense. 4 home. But Kai, I would bet Houston here if I had to.
Yeah. Cincinnati's been feisty, I will say, in their first season. But they don't have a lot to show for it wins-wise, besides some good efforts. Not good enough for an at-large at this point, although they are kind of on the bubble still. Game 1, Cincinnati hung around. They were actually up in the second half. They ended up losing by 5. Houston struggled shooting that game, 3 for 16 from 3. but they grab 40% of their misses. One of those is for sure repeatable. That's the offensive rebounding. The other is likely to improve. Houston is not a 16% three-point percentage team by any means. Spread does feel giant. Cincy's main strength, though, this season on offense has been rebounding. It's hard to beat Houston on the glass at their own game. They're going to struggle handling it against Houston's guards. Jamal Shed is insane defending the point of attack. Might be defensive player of the year in the country. Stay away from me at this spread. It's really big, but I kind of agree that Houston can get it done, Jim. Nothing strong from me either way in that game.
Yeah, Kai, Matt's got to drop for VSIN shortly, so we're probably going to get a funky faces. Or Matt, you could leave Zoom open and
leave Zoom open, Matthew, if you can, or you can't.
Okay.
Leave Zoom open and just turn off your video. I don't know if that's going to work or not.
Okay, I'll try that.
Unless you need Zoom for your other show.
Yeah, Kai, you and I can go through chat mob quick here. All right, we'll start with Kai. Bowling Green -3.5 at home against Miami, Ohio. I actually like Bowling Green here too. I think Helms in the chat did. Miami, Ohio, not very good on the road. Agreed. And Todd Simon's done a nice job with that Bowling Green squad. I know Matthew kind of likes him too. So next up, Kai, for you, Wonkadot asking about Valpo at Northern Iowa. 15.5-point spread for the Purple Panthers. They are coming off a massive victory against Drake. Potentially a letdown. What do you think with that matchup?
A little high, in my opinion. I think in general, 15-point spreads in the Valley lean towards the dog here. I don't love Valpo, but I think it's a big spread.
Balls. This was confusing because the guy who submitted the question was named Buffalo, but he's asking about Ball State, Central Michigan.
Matt did what we told him not to do, naturally.
Yeah, he just doesn't like listening to us.
He just doesn't listen to us.
So, yeah, apologies for the video being a little bit skewed. It's wild how little he listens to us.
I know. He doesn't care.
Direct statements to him, to his face. Ball State, Central Michigan.
Sorry,
Central
guys.
Michigan has just been a team that's been hard to solve in MAC play. Really fantastic defensively. That's kind of what's carried them. And yeah, crazy that they're in third. I think somebody mentioned what they are in KenPom, but 10-3 in the league. I think they kind of continue that. I like them at home. Ball State, not a team I fully trust either. So I will keep going through these chat questions as Kai deals with the tech stuff behind the scenes.
Honestly, man, I can't even get this in time. So whatever. We're just going to be no video.
Okay. Durko Gaming, Kai, Utah State at Fresno State. Aggies laying 11.5 on the road at the Save Mart Center. Fresno been banged up all year. Does Utah State blow them out as they head towards a potential Mountain West title?
Yes, I'm leaning towards Utah State in this game. Nothing strong, but I really do like them at home versus a Fresno team that I don't really respect. Hey, we have our face a little bit now, guys. So there you go. Sorry for the the horribleness.
Good job. Okay. Western Michigan at Eastern Michigan. Kai, Ed Redmond asking about this big old directional rivalry in the Mitten. Western actually a 1.5-point favorite at Eastern. I like Western. I think our little guy, B. Artist White, starting to play better, and Eastern Michigan has circled the drain of late. So
agreed. Felt short.
Yeah. Okay.
Lean towards West
we're in
Michigan.
agreement there.
Our faces are back, Jim, for the people out there.
Excellent. Love to hear that. Yeah, the Bucking Broncos. I will ride with them on the road. God, Eastern Michigan. Kai, they lost to Buffalo by 9. That's not very good.
Yeah,
that's bad. All right, I had an opinion on this game, Kai. I'll ask you quick. Wake Forest -6 at Notre Dame. A lot of people saying, all right, Wake letdown effort after beating Duke, the court storm, etc. I just think this number's too short. It's 8 per KenPom. You're paying a big tax if you want to back the Irish as a home dog.
Yeah, I took the under in this game. Don't love Wake unders in general, but I think the Notre Dame outburst last game is a bit of an anomaly. I think the pace is pretty slow. I think it's really hard to speed Notre Dame up in general. So I lean towards the under there.
I like that, actually. Wake Forest maybe better defensively in league play than people give them credit for. I'm on your page with that. Last one, Georgia at LSU. LSU -6 in this one. Man, I have a hard time figuring out the dogs, Kai. At first, I thought they were feisty in SEC play, and then they've kind of drifted away from that. LSU obviously had the big midweek win last week against Kentucky. Do they get a midweek W this week?
I'm a little surprised for the money. Yeah, I guess they're playing better, but yeah, I agree with you that initially Georgia here +5.5 now I'm seeing out there in the market would lean towards the dogs. I think they can be a tough dog. I don't think LSU's a world beater by any means, so lean towards Georgia.
Yeah, Jalen Cook status TBD. I think you could maybe make the case that they've been a little better without him actually playing through their bigs instead of him just chucking on 30% of possessions. So yeah, I kind of like Georgia, but a game that I did not have a strong gut take on. All right, that is it. We did have a Maddie best bet
We
before he
did.
left. For folks that are interested, he took Virginia Tech, pick 'em or -1 at Syracuse. Kai, what is your best bet?
All right, Jim. Let's do. I'm going with the NC State Florida State over that I mentioned earlier. Out there in the market, I believe you can find 151 and a half, 151. I'm seeing at certain books. Yeah, going with the over there in NC State and Florida State.
All right, I will go with Mississippi State -3.5 at home against Kai's Big Blue Nation, Kentucky Wildcats there. But I kind of since the beginning of the year was like, all right, midweek road games and is not as hype of spots for Kentucky. Those are the places I'm looking to fade them. A much more difficult defensive matchup here compared to Alabama over the weekend. I think that's a little bit of a rude awakening for them. Mississippi State sort of found something with Tolu Smith coming off the bench, 43 points in the last 2 games as the dynamic, dominant reserve wrecking ball. I think that can work against Kentucky's interior. They've got a bunch of 7-footers, but I think they're all pretty soft, and Mississippi State can limit some of that transition and ball movement. So -3.5, the Bulldogs at home against Kentucky is my best bet.
Love it. Also, that Georgia LSU game, guys, I do lean towards the over if you're looking for a total in that game. I think that's the side I'd prefer if you're looking for an over or under in that game. The over is where I prefer. Okay. Hey, thanks for joining us, people out there, for our first weekday show of the year for Best Bets. We are back tomorrow with another Best Bet show at 9 a.m. We also have a podcast tomorrow at 1 p.m. So 2 doses of the weave tomorrow on this channel. Again, thanks to Circa Sports for the sponsorship. Again, please check out the link in the description to sign up for the giveaway. 3 free nights at Circa in Las Vegas. Hang out with us, watch the Elite Eight and Sweet 16. Great pool deal, great drink deal, limo transportation from the airport. The details are all on the link. All you got to do is sign up, name, email address, and we will draw the winner live on our show on March 9th, on Saturday, March 9th. So get those entries in. We hope one of you wins, obviously, in the chat mob, and we'll see you there in Vegas. But have a good rest of your day. Good luck with your bets. We'll see you tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Central on this channel. Be good.